As the season draws closer, some very talented restricted free agents are still unsigned, and one player linked to Montreal in a recent article is Dawson Mercer, who has yet to sign an extension with the New Jersey Devils. We got to get into the possibility of Montreal going for Mercer. Plus, an article came out recently saying that the Habs should target Nick Robertson from the Maple Leafs, as he's another guy that has demanded a trade as an RFA. That plus some talk about Monty being a starting goalie, hopefully in the upcoming Four Nations Cup. We got a bunch of great stuff to get into on this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to start with Samuel Montembeault. And he can absolutely do this. Now, the Four Nations Cup is coming up eventually, and of course, the Olympics are going to come up eventually as well. There's lots of talk about who the Canadian goalies are going to be, but in a recent article that I'll link down below, as always, they were discussing some possibilities for forwards, for defense, but also for goalie, Jesse. And when you look at the goalies, well, they predict that Stuart Skinner, this is from Sportsnet, Stuart Skinner and Jordan Binnington will be the goalies with Adin Hill as the extra. But Monty is in the mix, and when you compare the stats, Jesse, it's definitely not that far off. I know Monty's stats don't jump off the page at you, but when you look at the advanced statistics that shows goals saved above expected, a lot of them is higher than the other guys. Now, I will concede that, Binnington and Hill have Stanley Cups, and Skinner just took his team to a final, but I think when you look at all these names, what jumps out to me is, in terms of pure talent and if Monty was in the situation some of these other guys have been in, I actually truly believe that he can very much be in the running for a full-on roster spot here.
Yeah, we've seen that he can play very well on a good team. Samuel Montembeault is the dark horse for the Canadiens net for this upcoming Four Nations tournament, right? And he absolutely can do it, right? And you just have to feel like it's a good story. He's going from a waiver pickup to now being a guy, outside chance, but a chance of having the net for a best on best tournament, represent your country. Now, it's not exactly the storyline for the film Rudy, but it's close. You want to root for this guy, Samuel Montembeault, because, he's put in the work that he really needs to do. I'd really like to see Suzuki on this lineup as well, but I digress. But Samuel Montembeault has been doing some really interesting training, Josh, coming into this next season, right? Almost borderline astronaut training when you're hearing it, right? He's being strapped into a chair. He's getting moved around all these different places with lasers, kind of working on his concentration on really his positioning as well, right? So this is he has not been idle this summer, even though he decided he just wanted to kind of have the offseason to rest. We see he's been doing the training that he can to really continue to up his game and continue to improve.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's going to take that to another level. But not only that, Jesse, he also has that international pedigree. Remember that World Championship where he was backstopping Canada all the way to the top, and he was phenomenal. He was a standout of that tournament, while other guys, like I've shown here, Skinner brought his team to a cup final. Of course, we know Binnington has that Stanley Cup from 2019. After a couple tumultuous years, he really bounced back this season. I think Monty really has a shot at this. Let us know down below what you think. What do you think the odds are that Monty ends up being one of the 3 goalies for Team Canada in the Four Nations Cup? Because I think it's higher than a lot of people might be giving him credit for. But let's move on quickly to the next topic. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't think this is a fantastic idea, but it all depends on the price. Now, one guy that has been in trade rumors for a long time now is Nick Robertson, as in June there, Chris Johnston tweeted out that Nick Robertson has no plans to re-sign with the Leafs this summer and has informed them that the team would like to be traded. Nick Robertson's a guy we've talked about before, Jesse, but recently there have been more talks about it. And, you go to Puckpedia, you see fans proposing trades. And, well, this is an article from Heavy.com that went over a fan proposed trade. So that is what this is. It's not a report, nothing like that. But I wanted to talk about this briefly because when I saw this, I can totally see this being the type of return the Leafs would be looking for with Nick Robertson. A second and a third round pick for a guy you have no leverage again. As soon as a guy demands a trade, you lose a lot of leverage. What are you going to do? Just keep him and have him not play, not sign? And he's a guy, Jesse, who I think would slot in as one of the Habs' top 5 forward prospects in terms of potential. The problem is he can never stay healthy. And if that's the price, a second and a third, I'm not totally opposed to it, but at this point, he's small. Habs have a bunch of small guys. He's injury prone. I know we talked about him before. I think that's the fan base's opinion. To me at this point, I think I'd rather just hold out my roster spot for someone else. But all the same, I mean, he's still talented. So you might as well take a look to see what it costs.
Talented for sure. The younger brother of Jason Robertson, 14 goals last year. For myself, he's just not that clear top 6 player that we need. Probably because of size, the injuries as another part. I feel like the Leafs, they might want just a little bit more than that second and third. We know how they operate, right? But it probably, that being said, wouldn't be a crazy cost. Montreal does have the leverage right now. He has asked for a trade, But I think right now it's the right kind of idea, but we kind of want to be setting our sights a little bit higher. I think a player that we're going to talk about soon, I think, in an ideal world, would much better fit what we're going for. And quite frankly, I don't think that Kent wants to really settle.
Yeah, no, that's it. Right now, in a world, I could see this working. If, say, it's not a second and a third. Now, I know the Habs have 12 draft picks in this upcoming draft. So, like, they're going to have to move some of them, right? Because you can't just pick everyone and still have all these prospects. But the Leafs could use some young defensemen. And the Habs have a plethora of those. Whether that happens, I don't know. Don't want to spend too much time on this. Let us know your thoughts on this down below. But, yeah, I don't see Kent Hughes making a swing for Nick Robertson anytime soon. But one guy that, oh, Jesse, I would love. I actually texted you this morning talking about this guy before I even saw this article come out. I was saying, how awesome would it be if Dawson Mercer ended up in Montreal? I was thinking maybe an offer sheet. Now, I don't think Kent Hughes necessarily has an interest in that, but there have been some interesting things going on in New Jersey as Dawson Mercer still doesn't have a contract with the Devils. He's a restricted free agent, and under Tom Fitzgerald, the Devils have usually not waited too long. The latest guy that they've extended in a situation like this was Jesper Bratt, and that came like in early August, last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was. And now we're in like the middle of August, the second half of August, and Mercer is still not signed. So I wanted to go through this in a recent article in Montreal Hockey Now that, of course, again, will be linked down below. Please go check it out. There's more than just this. Probably some other stuff we'll talk about in the upcoming days. But they talk about what the Habs can still do before the season. They say with their ability to take on salary and their abundance of draft capital, it leaves them flexible to pounce on the deal for a guy like Laine or Dawson Mercer should an opportunity materialize. Now, on the cap dump front, you got Kane and the Oilers are in a bit of an issue, but it would make more sense, or it'd be more likely that the Canadiens would like to focus on a young forward at the right price, like Mercer, Laine, or Tomasino. Another interesting name there, but you see Mercer being brought up a lot, Jesse. He's not signed yet. The Devils have a bit of an issue cap-wise. They can't afford to give him probably the contract he's looking for, and a lot of Devils fans want to keep him around. They're like, has he shown top 6 potential? To me, he absolutely has. He's been playing in the league since he was 19, multiple 20-goal seasons under his belt. Yes, only 33 points last year, but to me, if there's an opportunity to get this guy, you have to pounce on it. And as the days go by without a contract, I think that likelihood that he gets shipped out is becoming maybe more and more likely.
Better than a Laine trade for sure, right? If we look at this young player, some of the best production from his draft class. He plays a complete game. If we're looking at his stats over the last 3 seasons, hasn't missed a single game due to injury. He never calls in sick. Now, that's a good Newfoundland lad.
Oh, yes,
Josh.
sir.
I know you want Kent to make this happen. Pick up the phone, Kent, right? Like,
somebody
again, we're looking at these for sure. Like, 27 goals 2 years ago, 20 goals last year, still 22. This is a player, again, with the size, just a couple inches taller than a Nick Robertson type. But again, it makes the difference in terms of your overall makeup of your team. This is somebody that I would really like into our top 6 to maybe kind of grow. Fans of the show know I really like maybe a vet, but if we could get like a good young player, like scoring 27 goals being that young, that's pretty established. That fits kind of what Ken is looking for. So now being able to have all these cap picks, which we need to use before Laval starts to overflow, and also having that cap space, I think we definitely need to take advantage of that. This would be an interesting player to do. You have to feel New Jersey likes this player a lot. What is the cost? Obviously, it's all dependent, right? Because in an ideal world, Kent Hughes, Montreal would love to have this player. It fits exactly what we're going for. He's valued by New Jersey for the same reasons, right? But again, Kent having this space, he's shown, the propensity to be able to use that in the past to kind of take advantage of some situations.
Yeah, and New Jersey's going to want to maximize the return on him because, look, an offer sheet to me is not out of the realm of possibility. GMs are still hesitant to do them, but we just saw a couple come out of St. Louis for Edmonton. Now Edmonton's in a bit of a bind. And with New Jersey also in a bit of a questionable cap situation, especially with the bonuses that they might owe to guys like Nemitz, and they brought in like Pesci, there's a bit of a backlog there, and if you give an offer sheet to him that's maybe a bit more than what he's actually worth, you could put New Jersey in a serious bind, and you have to give up draft compensation. So New Jersey's probably looking for something that would be more than what they theoretically get in a RFA type of scenario. But the thing with Dawson Mercer is you never really know what could happen. But Jesse, can you imagine? I just want to indulge in this for a second. I love Dawson Mercer as a player. When that draft was happening, I wanted Mercer over Cayden Guhle, but I'm actually pretty happy that we got Guhle. But why not both? Can you imagine a line with Mercer and Newhook? The chemistry would be off the charts. Now, I don't know if 2 Newfoundlanders have played as forward partners before. Maybe Chloe and Ryder in New Jersey, though I don't think they shared a line together. Regardless, though, if it comes to Montreal now, and we're talking to New Jersey, I just went off a big tangent there. I apologize. I'm so psyched with this idea. Do you think Kent Hughes would be more inclined to do a trade, or do you think, like, this is the kind of time where you take a risk on an offer sheet for a guy like him, for the team that's just struggling to put together the money to get him? The Habs have that cap space. I'm not saying it's a great idea, but I'm not saying it's impossible either.
Yeah, I think the trade would probably be the
I
best
agree.
option. At the same time, like it's not going to be the easiest, because this is somebody. It's a player that has shown something. This isn't like a reclamation with Kirby Dach, who look like Dawson Mercer has shown he's a very good NHL player. I would say top six. If he can be producing like that at 22 years old, I think it's fair to say that this guy's going to grow into a top six role nicely, right? And the fact that he just plays a complete game against somebody that's there night in, night out, consistent, that your team can rely on. I think those are all very important factors, right? So he's sought after. It's just really the questions, what's the price? But we can't deny that he fits exactly the profile of what this team is looking for.
Yeah, and I think a trade is also better because, like, then you can actually get rid of some of the overflow stock of the prospects and picks that you have. But I digress. Let us know down below what you guys think about this. Like, I don't necessarily think an offer sheet, that's probably out the window, but a trade is not impossible. Even some insiders like this Montreal Hockey Now article are saying it's a possibility. Let us know what you think of Dawson Mercer down below. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing towards 15K every single day, and if you haven't hit subscribe yet, I really suggest you do it because we got stuff every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.